Yo, what's up everybody? Lawler here with more Rocket League news. This time it's more Europe power rankings coming at you. We just finished again week 6, as I said yesterday, for North America. We've got week 6 results here for Europe. Grid went down. We're waiting on another regional, as NA regional is going to wrap up here. But again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the comments down below, and I will get to those to the best of my ability. Obviously, any interaction on the video helps, so whether it be a thumbs up, subscribing and turning on notifications, or leaving comments greatly helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and I greatly appreciate it. But with that said, let us get into the power rankings. At number 10 for Europe this week is going to be Liquid, finally making it back into the top 10. Have been trending in a pretty good direction. I still have some frustrations with the way that they approach the game, but I will say that they are still getting really tough victories. Liquid just feels like they're a little bit disconjointed in the way that they approach the game, but when Speed is on and is able to lead the charge, I think the others just kind of follow into place really well, and they get the results with that. I mean, if you look in the most recent regional for Europe about a week and a half ago, Liquid does end up making it into Stage 2 in the top 16, but they do go 0-3 with losses to Vitality, Guild, and Train Hard Esports. So not the best of results there, but if you do look at the grid, they do make semifinals in week 5 of the grid, where they end up ultimately losing to Oxygen in a sweep, but then they end up as well in week 6 immediately after, making it into the quarterfinals, where they lose to the inevitable winners in BDS, going all the way to 7, and BDS ends up getting that victory in 7 because they do have the 1-game differential. So I do think Liquid is getting some pretty notable wins and putting up fights against rosters that they normally would struggle with. Even though they do end up losing to Top Lokes in the group stage for week 6 of the grid, they do bring it to pretty close matches. OT, 1-goal game differential in some of them, and then they end up dropping down and still beating teams like Triple Trouble. Even though it's not the most convincing from Team Liquid, I will say they are getting wins, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Still a lot to be desired with Liquid. At number 9, and moving up a spot, is actually going to be Solary, a team that also is still leaving some to be desired, but is getting really big wins against some really notable rosters. I mean, you're talking in week 6 of the grid, Giants ends up going 0-2, which was absolutely crazy, and I totally forgot about it in my recap video yesterday because I was focused on the fact that Vitality also got dropped out really early. And one of the teams that they lost to is Solary, who ended up sweeping Vitality to qualify. Solary does then end up going into the playoffs, and even though they do have the 1-game advantage over the team of Barcelona, they do end up losing in 7. So technically it was 4-2 in favor of Barcelona, but still Solary making themselves in the top 8 of the grid, I think is a pretty big thing. You also look back at week 5, as I've kind of taken a look at my other monitor. They lose to Liquid, end up dropping down, and they beat Libertas, and then they go to 5 against BDS. So if you're losing to BDS and another team like Liquid, who is kind of trending in that right direction, I do think that Solary isn't getting enough credit as they deserve, and they continue to perform well. This is a team that I know a lot of people kind of struggle with where they want to put them, and a lot of that has to do with the next pairing here at 7 and 8, which is going to be Fadeaway and Barrage staying the exact same. I can't really give any of the other teams below Fadeaway and Barrage a notable jump up because we haven't, one, seen Fadeaway or Barrage because they can't play in the grid, and the other teams haven't had enough of a performance for me to justify you're outperforming teams that are doing pretty solid in regional results. So again, Fadeaway and Barrage is going to stay the exact same, so we can just jump ahead up to number 6, which is going to be Guild. Guild, another team that staying the exact same, and you're going to probably start to see a trend here. Surprise, surprise. But Guild actually had some pretty big moments in this week to keep them in this place. The first one was the fact in week 6, they do end up qualifying for top 8. I think that's a big deal. And they do it over the likes of Vitality in 5. They end up winning. They do end up dropping to BDS and then beating Dignitas. So, I mean, you're talking their losses almost come from the top 2 teams essentially in Europe. And then they do make top 8 and end up dropping to Blokes, another team that I think is performing extremely well, who also made it to the grand finals in week 6. So, Guild is right now, even though it's really weird to think about, I don't consider Guild like this crazy, awesome team. I know there's a ton of potential. I know they can be really good, but I'm just not seeing the level of consistency or the fluidity that I'm looking for. There is still some double commits. They do look a little bit sloppy here and there, but they are a very talented roster, and we know they can get wins, but they're going to be really chaotic and really ugly wins, and that's fine. A win is a win. So Again, Guild staying the exact same. Right above them at number 5 is going to be Barcelona. And I'm actually really happy with Barcelona. And Barcelona is just a circumstance to where the teams that are above them are beating them, but everyone else below they are winning convincingly. So to kind of take you guys on Barcelona's path and why I've been happy with them, in the grid most recently, they do go all the way to the semifinals before they get swept by BDS, but they're beating Solary, a team that I also have as a pretty heavy in the top 10 in course of weight. They beat Libertas, they beat Shocked, they lose to Top Lokes, a team above them again. They're going tooth and nail against some of the best teams. In this case, Top Lokes, the team right above them, which, surprise, surprise, Top Lokes staying the exact same as well. And this is going to be kind of a silly way to present these, but again, Top Lokes, a team that is right above them, beating them in the head-to-head, also having better results. But Barcelona still being able to press that issue. And I really like what Barcelona's doing. And I said this last week as well. It feels like Itachi has finally felt comfortable, which is making Ronicky, who has been playing well already. I think Ronicky is probably the best performing easily on Barcelona. Now that both he and Itachi are starting to file in, Devo's confidence is showing, and that is allowing them to compete. And it's really exciting to watch Barcelona go from a place where they were highly touted as a team that could have made some big moves. They have a big drop-off. Flakes ends up leaving. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Hot commodity in Itachi, who is now finally able to play in the RLCS after moving. And they've kind of leveled out. So Barcelona is a team that will make you earn a win. I just don't see them beating the guys above them. So Barcelona, I think, is a really good team. Well, Top Lokes has the potential. Top Lokes has already shown that they can win a grid. They have had really consistent performances in regionals, as you guys can see in the ranking. It's just BDS has won back-to-back. But Top Lokes, I mean, a really solid team. And still for me, trying to push into the top, I honestly could probably put Top Lokes at 3, if I'm being honest. I actually wouldn't be against that. I might want to put Top Lokes at 3. So maybe we kind of pair 3 and 4 together. But the reason why I don't move Top Lokes up is actually because of who's in it right now is going to be Giants. And the reason why Giants is staying the exact same is even though they have a really bad performance in the grid, I'm not going to knock a team for one bad performance. They have an off day. They don't look that great, but you look at all their other results across the board, and they are dominant. I mean, you're talking a top 3 tied for 3rd in the regionals. You're also talking their 3rd as well in the grid. So ultimately, Giants' consistent performances, I am not going to, because you have an off day, drop you down so heavily, even though Top Lokes can also be in that consideration. I do think Top Lokes and Giants are kind of fighting for that podium spot in the 3rd place, but right now, Giants, you got to give me one bad week, and Top Lokes outperforming you before I make that adjustment. So this week of the grid on Friday for Europe, be keeping your eyes on Giants and Top Lokes. And with that said, you guys know the other ones, and this is why I said it was kind of weird and how you're going to see a trend. BDS and Vitality 1 and 2. Who would have thought? Same thing with Vitality. Vitality, again, you have kind of a weird performance in the grid in week 6, but you look at week 5, and guess what? You guys did end up winning the whole thing, and then you guys go to regionals as well, and Vitality is a team that finds themselves in the semifinals alongside Top Lokes and the Giants. So again, Vitality was the only one who could actually put up a fight against BDS in most recent games. So other than their one off week with the grid alongside Giants, they're staying the exact same. And BDS is just as dominant as ever. I think the biggest thing to take away from this is the fact that BDS has shown that they can also win a grid. They haven't had the greatest grid performances. And I say that despite them moving up 3 spots and being 5th overall in grid standings. But they just haven't had the greatest results being towards the top. It has been some kind of early dismissals of them in the grid. So for them to now not only win 2 regionals back-to-back, come into a grid immediately after, have another convincing win. BDS, man, best team in Europe. I'm super happy for them, and I love watching this team. Mark my words, sorry for the terrible pun, marked by 8. That is a very talented team, and that player alone. A lot of the focus goes to Monkey Moon, and I had this discussion on Behind the Wheel with obviously Jazzo and Chrome last week, where we each individually point out kind of like an MVP from Europe, and each of us gave a different player from BDS, and I think that's what makes them so talented. Monkey Moon is known obviously for the flashiness and the attention to detail and the ability to kind of just pull anything out of nowhere if he needs to. Marked by 8 is my kind of pick because I'm more of a support player. I love that he can also hard carry when he needs to, but he's always in the right position, great at making passes, and then Extra just slots in. He does whatever is needed, does a lot of the grunt work, but then it can also move up and shoot. And it's this 3-headed rotation, 3-headed monster that you're seeing from BDS that just makes them so talented and something you have to just be fearful of. So again, BDS the best team until Vitality has another bad performance. They're not going to move down. Same with Giants. But you're 1 through 8 I talk about the parity in Rocket League, especially in the European region, a lot. And for 138 to stay the exact same is actually kind of hilarious to me. So I was making this list and talking about it. I'm like, I don't really know if I could change any of these. We're getting some consistency in some of these results. It just makes me really wish that we got to see teams like Fadeaway and Barrage play in the grid. And it'll be interesting to see after the 9 weeks finish up and we go into the winter split, which teams are going to break down from 32 into the 24 and which ones are going to then progress as well into the second set of grid matches. So it'll be interesting to see on how things play out, but ultimately these are my power rankings for Europe this week. Definitely a little bit of a weird one for the rankings, and I'll admit it, but I'm curious on what you guys have. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you guys have for your rankings, and if I should have moved up top blokes or where you guys got people at, or if there's any teams that you think deserve a nod, because I do agree there's a lot of talented teams that have started to make waves in that, I would say, like 9 to maybe like 15 area. There's some pretty exciting teams, so let me know what you guys got, and that is going to do it for me. We'll catch you next time. Peace.